Hi everyone, we are on lesson number 22 for Environment and Ecology series. We are doing the broader topic of functions of an ecosystem, within which now we'll talk about the pollutants and the trophic levels. We have already talked about the trophic levels, the energy flow, food chain, food web, all of those concepts we have done. Now we will talk about the pollutants and the trophic levels. Now here what you will see is two important concepts. One is your bioaccumulation, another is your biomagnification. Okay, let's understand. So firstly you have to remember that whenever, let's say, you hear these two terms or you come across these two terms in prelims, the first thing that should come to your mind is कि pollutants से related है और दूसरी चीज़ trophic level से related है. So probably what will happen, most of the questions you will answer anyways correctly if you just remember at least the hint words. ठीक है, डिटेल तो अभी हम समझेंगे, डेफिनेशन एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, बट एट टाइम्स व्हाट हैपेंस इन प्रीलिम्स, इवन इफ यू जस्ट एलिमिनेट द अदर ऑप्शंस, द रेस्ट बिकम्स ईजियर फॉर यू. सो फॉर दैट टू हैपन, थोड़ा यहाँ पर आप बस कीवर्ड्स पे फोकस कर लेंगे, ठीक है. एंड प्लीज डू चेक ऑल द अर्लियर वीडियोज. द लिंक्स आर ऑल्सो अवेलेबल इन द प्लेलिस्ट्स. the playlist links are given in the description section, and do like, comment, share and subscribe. Okay, firstly when we talk about these movement of the pollutants, see, you have seen कि pyramid, different types of pyramid, और हमने normal भी, मतलब even if you just don't talk about pyramid, but otherwise we have talked about the trophic levels, the different trophic levels wherein the energy transfer takes place from the producer, and then it happens, let's say, to the first level of the consumer, then the second, and so on and so forth, and the top level of the carnivore, or let's say the consumer would receive that energy and it will keep on decreasing. Now if you understand that this transfer takes place, of course there will not be these trophic levels or the organisms in the trophic levels will not be untouched by the pollutants because they are also present in the environment. तो ऐसा तो है नहीं कि ये जो भी दूषित पदार्थ होंगे वो वहाँ पर प्रेजेंट ही नहीं होंगे. कंजम्पशन में दिस विल ऑल्सो हैपन, ठीक है. सो what do you understand by this pollutant movement? That the pollutant movement, especially what kind of pollutant, the non-degradable मतलब जिसको आप persistent pollutants भी बोलते हो, मतलब they will not be broken down into smaller parts. अगर degrade हो जाता तब तो फिर ठीक है, वो तो degrade हो ही जाता, वो तो ख़त्म हो जाता. But the problem is that they are long lasting, they will sustain in the system. So the pollutants, especially the non-degradable pollutants, the movement of those pollutants through various trophic levels in an ecosystem is what we are trying to understand here. And the non-degradable pollutants, as I just said, are also called as persistent pollutants. We have a chapter on pollution, in the further classes to come. वहाँ हम इन सब पर ज़्यादा detail में बात करेंगे that what kinds of pollutions are there, what are pollutants, what kinds of pollutants are there. ठीक है, वो सब पे तो अभी बाद में बात करना है. अभी हम क्या समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं that how it is related to the trophic level, and therefore we will understand these two terms. So these are those materials which cannot be metabolized by the living organisms, ठीक है, further broken down नहीं होगा. One example is chlorinated hydrocarbons, जिसको हम perfluorochlorides भी बोलते हैं, and this is one of the most damaging non-degradable pollutant which are very long lasting also, and therefore harm the trophic level. What kind of pollutant is it? वो सब हम details में समझेंगे जब हम chapter करेंगे on the pollution. Now when we talk about this movement of the pollutants in different trophic levels, it basically involves two main processes. One is accumulation, another is magnification, and the word bio is related to it because of the organisms. So two processes, one is your bioaccumulation and second is your biomagnification. This you have to remember. So now when we try to understand the details, let's say discussing more on bioaccumulation. Basically this process gives us an idea about how the pollutants enter a food chain, because this is what we talked about, that there will be movement of the pollutants, but for the movement to happen from one trophic level to another, firstly they would need to enter the food chain. So this is the first process that helps us understand that. If you have to define it, we will call this process to be gradual accumulation, धीरे धीरे इकट्ठा होना, ठीक है, of the pollutants, chemicals or other substances in an organism. So gradually there is accumulation of all of these kinds or different kinds of substances in an organism. Now how does it occur? It occurs when the rate of loss of substance from the body of the organism through catabolism or excretion is lower than the rate of accumulation of substance. Just break this carefully and you will understand, don't worry. Firstly understand these two terms so that the other statements make sense to you. Catabolism is about breaking down of the complex molecules, ठीक है, in the smaller particles in the living organisms. And another is excretion. So we understand that from our body, or let's say from any organism's body, the substances are also lost in several manner. One of course is your excretion, another is your catabolism because there is breaking down. So if the rate of losing of the substance is lower than the rate of accumulation, which means the pollutants which are getting accumulated, if the rate is higher and the rate at which loss is happening that is lower, तो जाहिर सी बात है कि बायो अक्यूमुलेशन हो जाएगा, बिकॉज फॉर दैट द रेट ऑफ अक्यूमुलेशन हैज़ टू बी हायर एंड दिस इज व्हाट द स्टेटमेंट सेज, राइट. Also, there is increase in the pollutants concentration from the environment to the first organism in a food chain with this process. ठीक है, as and when the pollutants enter the food chain and then it starts to concentrate. So from the environment it reaches to the first organism in the food chain. Whatever will be the, or whosoever will be the first organism in the food chain, that will be impacted by the concentration of this pollutant, and with each level there is going to be increasing of the pollutants. Of course it is very high risk also. Now one more reason of this being, of having a higher risk is because of long lasting persistent pollutants. Some, there are certain pollutants like DDT. Now it's your work firstly find out the full form of DDT, because हम इसको जब डिटेल करेंगे हम इसको पोल्यूशन चैप्टर में पढ़ेंगे. तो फॉर योर इन्फॉर्मेशन यू मस्ट हैव रेड इट, बट थोड़ा लंबा नाम है और अगर आप लोग कन्फ्यूज ना हो जाएं तो उसको तोड़ कर पढ़िएगा, ठीक है. Now there are some persistent organic pollutions which are actually very long lasting, and therefore this process is very riskier. So even if if you say, let's say this is an organism and this is the environment, this is an organism and this is the environment of the organism. So even if, let's say, in the environment there is not much of a pollution, still for the organism this can be riskier, because if the pollutant, some pollutant which are very long lasting, if they enter the organism, it might continue for very very long. Okay, so even the external pollution, if it is not there in that much of amount, still it can hamper the organism. So this is the bioaccumulation. Moving on to the next one, which is your biomagnification. Now once the accumulation has happened, then there will be magnification. इसमें क्या हो जाएगा? This is the tendency of the pollutants to concentrate as they move from one trophic level to the next. So as and when the pollutants are moving along with the energy etc. from one organism to the another, or from one trophic level to the another, basically in that case what is happening, the pollutants have a tendency to concentrate. So at each trophic level they are concentrating, and that is biomagnification. So there is increase in concentration of a pollutant from one link in a food chain to another. In the bioaccumulation it was just happening to that first organism from the environment, and then when it reaches one after the another different trophic levels, it starts to concentrate. That is your biomagnification. Now for the process of biomagnification to occur, there are certain criteria which should be fulfilled by the pollutant. For example, one major criteria is that it should long live, or it should have a lengthier life, because if the pollutant will be short lived, मतलब वो थोड़े वक्त के लिए sustain अगर कर पाएगा, then it will be broken down before it can become dangerous. Because it is not important that as soon as the pollutant enters the trophic level or the organism, it will be dangerous. No, it will take some time to become dangerous and harm the organism or the trophic level. But if there is short life of the pollutant, it might be broken down and it might not even become dangerous. So in that case it will not result in the process of biomagnification. Therefore one major criteria is that it should be long lived, having a longer life. Another is that the pollutant should be mobile, which means it should be moving, of a moving nature. Because if it is static or if it is not mobile, then the pollutant will just stay in one place. So if it will just stay in one place, it is likely that the organisms might not consume it or might not take it. Then again the process of pollutant or biomagnification will not happen. Another is that the pollutant must be fat soluble. So it should be soluble in fats, मतलब fat में वो घुल जाना चाहिए. Why? Because the ones which are fat soluble, they are having long retention. वो ज़्यादा वक्त तक retain कर पाते हैं. If they would have been water soluble, so there are two kinds of these combinations that you can study, fat and water soluble. So if they are just water soluble, अगर वो पानी में घुल जाएंगे, they might be excreted by the organism. Actually they will be excreted by the organism. ठीक है, क्योंकि excretion के process में water has a role to play. But if they are soluble in fats and not in water, they will be retained for longer. एंड अनदर इंपॉर्टेंट इज़ बायोलॉजिकली एक्टिव. सो दैट इज़ तो जस्ट बिकॉज हम बायो वैसे ही बात कर रहे हैं, तो इसके लिए कुछ अलग से क्राइटेरिया होने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. बिकॉज इफ दे विल नॉट बी बायोलॉजिकली एक्टिव, ऑफकोर्स दे विल नॉट बी बायोमैग्नीफाइड. तो वो तो दैट इज़ प्रिटी क्लियर. सो दीज क्राइटेरियाज आर नीडेड टू बी फुलफिल्ड बाय द पोल्यूटेंट्स फॉर द प्रोसेस ऑफ बायोमैग्निफिकेशन टू occur. Now, there are certain ways of measuring these also. For example, measurement of the amount of pollutants in the fatty tissues of organisms takes place. Example, fish के केस में, ठीक है. सो देयर इज़ दिस टेंडेंसी कि अगर हमें फ़िश के केस में लेट्स से चेक करना है ना कि कितने pollutants हैं, तो हम उनके फैटी टिश्यूज़ को देखते हैं. अगर मैमल्स में इफ़ वी हैव टू चेक अबाउट द pollutants, so the testing of the milk produced by the females is done. ठीक है, जो फीमेल्स मिल्क प्रोड्यूस करती हैं वो उसकी टेस्टिंग होती है. वाई? बिकॉज मिल्क हैज़ अ लॉट ऑफ फैट इन इट. सो हम फैट सोल्यूबल पे बात कर ही चुके हैं. एंड ऑल्सो बिकॉज इट हैज़ अ लॉट ऑफ फैट इन इट, एंड because of the nature of the milk, it is very susceptible to damage from the toxins or the poisons because of the features that we have seen. So if we have to check the pollutant level in the mammals, we do the milk testing. And अगर fish में देखना है तो fatty tissues देखते हैं, ठीक है. and this is one just example through the image which helps you to understand. For example, जैसे अभी आपको DDT की बात कराई थी ना, the persistent ones, ठीक है, उसके कॉन्सेंट्रेशन को लेके एक एग्जाम्पल दिया हुआ है कि इफ़ वाटर में लेट्स से दैट इज़ प्रेजेंट, ठीक, एंड दैट कैन हैपन लेट्स से थ्रू इंडस्ट्रियल सीवेज हो गया या कहीं भी कोई गंदा रिलीज हो गया, यू नो, वाटर पोल्यूशन हैज़ एन नंबर ऑफ कॉजेज, ठीक है. तो यहाँ पे लेट्स से अगर हम पोल्यूशन या कॉन्सेंट्रेशन, DDT कॉन्सेंट्रेशन का अगर हम बोलते हैं कि 1 लेवल होगा, सो इट कीप्स ऑन इंक्रीजिंग एज वी मूव अलॉन्ग, because that is what biomagnification is all about. Tendency of them, the pollutants, to concentrate and then increase, of course, as they move from one trophic level to another. because यहाँ पर जितना है ऊपर जाएगा तो यहाँ concentrate हो जाएगा, फिर इसको ये खाएगा तो इसमें और ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएगा, इसको ये खाएगा और ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएगा. This is how it keeps on happening, and therefore it is very riskier. So these are the two sections about the pollutants and important concepts like bioaccumulation and biomagnification. In the next class we will start with the next subheading, which is your biogeochemical cycling, or you call it as the nutrient cycling. Just to quickly remind you कि हम कर क्या रहे हैं, ठीक है, आप लोगों को बीच बीच में याद दिलाना I think is important so that you don't forget the sequence. We are doing the functions of an ecosystem, जिसमें energy flow. Energy flow was one component, and the energy flow had 3 major subheadings: food chain, food web, and ecological pyramid, which we have covered, which also means that we have covered the energy flow वाला टॉपिक. उसी में एक सब हेडिंग था पोल्यूटेंट से रिलेटेड, दैट इज़ वाई वी डिड दैट, है ना, बिकॉज एनर्जी फ्लो में ही वी टॉक्ड अबाउट दिस ट्रोफिक लेवल इंटरेक्शन. सो वी हैव फिनिश्ड दिस एंटायरली. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज दिस. once we finish this, then we talk on the ecological succession, and once all of these will be done, then the entire ecosystem functions would be finished. ठीक है, चलिए, I will meet you in the next class. Till then, thank you so much guys, and take care of yourself. Please do like, comment, share and subscribe if you feel the videos are of use to you. Also, the polity, history and geography series are going on simultaneously. Continuously I'm adding lectures every single day. You are getting it on fixed timings, 5 days a week. So please do take care of that as well. Thank you. Bye bye.